You are watching Cable Channel 17, Schenectady, New York's only public access channel. It's 9 a.m. Sunday morning, and that means it's time for the weekly Book of the Month Club, hosted by Antoine Buttermilk, bringing the finest in book reviewery to the greater Schenectady region for over 17 years.
Hello, my name is Antoine Buttermilk, and this is the weekly Book of the Month Club with Antoine Buttermilk. Today I have with me a man for all seasons. To some, he's an actor. To others, he's a producer. To yet others, he's a singer. But now he's turned his attention to the publishing world with his new memoir entitled Profoundly Disconnected, A True Confession. He's the denizen of dirty jobs, the courtesan of contaminants, the master of muck. Today, I have with me Mike Rowe. Hello, Michael.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Thank you, and thanks for the kind words. It's very nice.
Thank you for being here today.
Sure.
What was the most difficult part of writing this book?
Well, for me, I've never written a book before, so the idea was to make something accessible for as many people as possible by writing in a way that was personal and unique to me.
Why did you write it? What was your motivation?
Well, for the last few years, I've had a foundation called MicroWorks. So every 6 months or so, I try and do something to help call attention to that endeavor. We've done lots of things in the past, and this year I thought it'd be fun to do a book.
How did someone as busy as you find the time to write this book?
What's the old expression? You want to get something done, you give it to a busy person, right? To tell you the truth, it's short, right? It's not a very, very super detailed book. It's heartfelt, but I wrote the whole thing on a BlackBerry.
I look at the cover of the book and I notice you're on a job site and you're wearing a tuxedo.
Well, if you think about the literal definition of profoundly disconnected, right, as an idea, I thought that optically we could capture some version of that. And so a guy in a tuxedo on a construction site is a guy improperly dressed for the task at hand. So much of what I believe is going on in the country right now that's causing problems is a combination of hubris, arrogance, a lack of gratitude, and in many ways an inability to properly attire ourselves for the conversation that needs to unfold or the task at hand. This is why we did that on the cover.
When it comes to defining what is and what isn't a good job, you say there's a profound disconnect. What do you mean by that?
I mean that once upon a time, I believe the country looked at work as one thing, right? Some jobs might be dirty, some jobs might be clean. In other words, clean jobs and dirty jobs weren't opposite. They were two sides of the same coin, essentially. Are you checking to see if what I said was correct?
I'm just doing a little research while you're talking.
Seriously, look, it's an important point because if we believe...
Cut. You can't be using your phone in the interview. We've already talked about that. Let's get some hair.
Is he your regular director?
He just comes in when the other one's sick. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why. They always let me use my phone when I'm talking to guests.
How long have you had this show?
I've had this show for 17 years in various forms in different places around the country.
And this is what are your ratings? I didn't even know. My publicist didn't really tell me much about the specifics.
I was told they don't do ratings on Sunday morning shows. That's
okay. In 10.
What is his name?
9, 8.
Tommy.
7.
Tommy?
Let's put the phone down. 3, 2, and action.
Since you started this initiative, have you noticed any shift in the paradigm?
Any shift in the paradigm?
Yes, and I'm not really sure what a paradigm is.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to measure that. I can tell you right now that there's over $1 trillion in student loans outstanding, right? And a lot of those kids with a 4-year degree, they can't find work in their chosen field. And so the debt gets higher and higher. And it's just a bad way to start a career, you know, when you're 60 grand in the hole, educated for a job that no longer exists anymore. So I think a paradigm shift would involve people looking at education not in terms of good or bad. Is that for me? It's not a question of looking at a job as being good or bad, or one form of education as being better than the other form, but, you know, a more holistic, honest look at the changing face of the modern day proletariat. Nobody's ever given me a snack in the middle of an interview. It's awesome.
You're welcome. I'm not ashamed to say I eagerly pored over your book, and it didn't take too terribly long. Why is that?
The idea was to write a book that was both accessible and personal to me, and something that could get passed around and talked about, right? So it wasn't about, look, here's everything I ever learned from 300 Dirty Jobs. This is more about, this is the one thing that I believe is quintessential, fundamental, and undeniably germane to the conversation that you and I are attempting to have, right? So to distill that didn't require hundreds of pages. It required one paragraph on one page, which is why you were able to read Profoundly Disconnected in what I assume is record time.
Do you think Profoundly Disconnected, A True Confession, will become a New York Times bestseller? After all, Snooki's made it twice. It's not that hard.
Snooki from the Jersey Shore.
Twice.
I don't know. I mean, I hope it does. How many do you have to sell even to be a bestseller?
I think it's 500,000 or a million.
Tommy, is that true?
500,000.